start a game of Leviathan Wilds here that I have set up in front of me. Let me make a few minor adjustments with my playing space so everyone can see everything. Um, and this was a game that I picked up or pre-ordered or crowdfunded a little under a year ago. I recently did an unboxing of this game, so check that out in the live page, in the live videos on Talking Cardboard YouTube channel. And now I'm actually playing the game. So bear with me as I'm still learning the rules as I go. I have a. It's definitely not a complex game by any means. The rule book is technically 15 pages, but the last few pages are additional rules and keywords that I think you'd obviously just be referencing as you play. And there's the text is not too is rather large, relatively speaking. So there's a lot of pictures and stuff. So it's really not a complicated game from a quick from my initial read through of the rules. So with that said, there is one caveat when playing solitaire. So normally this game is a cooperative boss battle or game that's meant to be played only one scenario at a time. There is no campaign rules for this game. It's meant to just be scenario by scenario. There's 17 different Leviathans, which are essentially the bosses in this game. Each one asymmetric with its own small deck of cards that you'll be threat cards that you'll be revealing as you play through a round. And then the players have the choice to choose from two different or several different what are called climbers. That's essentially your character in the game. And then a class. And the class is basically just 2 or 3 cards maybe that give your climber a couple unique cards essentially. And additional variability aside from just having a unique climber. So there's like 8 climbers, I think, and then a variety of classes. So you have a lot of combinations of climbers and classes. Now, like I said, it can be played from 1 to 4 players, meaning you can have up to 4 climbers. But if you're going to play the solitaire, the rules do specifically say that you still need to play with at least 2 climbers. So I picked 2 climbers. One's called Fix, and the other is called Savvy. And Fix, I'll just kind of read his card here for the flavor. So his card says, a fixture of the climbing guild since youth. He has witnessed generations of change within the guild strategy and mission. While the gear has gotten better and the training regimen's more refined, he's been around long enough to know when to pull out some of the old tricks. And each of the climbers have on their main card gives you an idea of what the climber is good at. So this climber, Fix, clearly has high power but isn't so great in mobility and support. And then on the right here, these gear symbols represent the difficulty of that climber. So only 1 out of 4 gears. So not like a relative, like a beginner climber, I guess. And then every climber has some kind of unique ability. In addition, they have unique cards that you'll be using, but then they also have a unique passive ability. So Fixes is just that he gets another +1 to strike each time he makes a attack. Is in this game basically a strike is an attack. So the next character here or climber I'm playing with is called Savvy, and for Savvy, it says she is a cartographer and scout. Savvy lives and breathes exploration. First in line to volunteer for the Wilds expedition, she deemed the opportunity to rediscover forgotten lands too enticing to ignore. And she has a additional setup instruction, which is just basically placing this token next to her character board. So some of these climbers have then unique tokens that they're using. And her ability is, after activating, place the Farseer token, so what this is, on a non-open space. When a climber enters that space, they may ignore terrain and may discard the token to climb 1. So she kind of has a nice support ability, which is why her highest skill is support for 3, and then also a difficulty of 3. I'm assuming because there's a lot of novel ways you can try to take advantage of this Farseer token. So with that said, I'll explain kind of the rules of the game as I go here, just so we get into playing. And with that, the first thing that you do every round is the reveal threat. So with that, all you have to do is you take the farthest left card, threat card, flip it over, and we're only looking at the top purple half of the card, and in this case, the card says all -1 grip, meaning every climber will have to discard one grip card, or one of their cards, which is cards are the player cards are also represent their grip. So this is like the draw deck for me specifically. In a multiplayer game, when you have other players, everyone's going to have their own deck of cards. So what's kind of an innovative idea is that your deck is the cards, of course, that you'll be using on your turn, but then also it represents your grip. So if you ever run out of cards, what happens is you fall, and then your climber, let's just say they're way up here, they have to fall down to the next ledge, which is what this space is representing. So if this character all of a sudden had 0 cards left, they would fall all the way down here. You don't necessarily take damage when you fall, but obviously it eliminates all the progress you've made climbing from to wherever you were. So I just thought that was kind of a cool idea. And in the case of playing solitaire, I'm already now scratching my head if that means I have to remove 1 card for each of the I have to essentially discard 2 cards total because I'm playing with 2 characters, or climbers, I mean. Or if I just have to take out 1 card, and it does. I'm reading now in the glossary here in the back of the book for all effects, and it says special strike effects for scenario cards can be generated through AP or skills, and you can apply plus X range to those effects. That doesn't really answer my question. I'm going to just assume that I do have to discard 2 of my grip cards then. But the way the round structure works is right now I'm only revealing the threat card. So what that means is that even though I know what's going to happen, it doesn't actually happen yet. Some of these cards, as we play the game, will be like attacks that have like a target zone. And so you'll know where the target zone is going to be, but thankfully you don't actually get attacked yet. And instead, the next part of the round is the activate climber part. So, or step, I guess, is what which is what each of these is called. So the first step is reveal threat. Then the next step is activate climber. So you have the ability to move your climber out of the way to avoid a potential damage. In this case, it doesn't matter because it's just all climbers are losing -1, losing 1 grip. So with that said, it's the climber's turn. So we'll say Fix is the first player, and at the start of the game you do draw 3 cards. So the 3 cards that I have are called Rise, Shatter, and Advance. And the first part of the activation is you pick one of your 3 cards as your action point card. So in the upper left, there's a number, and that number would be the action point value of the card. Now, I only choose one of these to be my action point card, but whatever card you choose, you then are not going to be able to use for this bottom effect, which is called a skill. So you have a little bit of a choice to make there, because in this case, for example, this one's 5 action points. So that's I don't know if that's the highest action point that you could have, but it's higher than 4 and 3. But it has the effect of strike 2. If this breaks a crystal, gain a heart or 2 grip, meaning you would draw 2 cards. And so it's pretty strong ability. Whereas Rise, it's only worth 3 action points, but its ability is whatever that whatever that means. I assume you just are able to kind of immediately go to any of the 3 points right above you, based on the, also looking at the picture. So that's what I'm going to assume. So you don't have to worry about, because when you climb, climbing is orthogonal, so so there could be value in using that skill depending on where you are on the board. With that said, I have fixed over here. My initial idea was I'm just going to go right up to this crystal. And by the way, I didn't explain that, the how you actually win the game. To win Leviathan Wilds, you have to destroy all the what are called binding crystals on the Leviathan. And there's 2 which are the dice, and the number on the die represents how many hit points that binding crystal has. And the color denotes the type of binding crystal. Purple is like a regular, I don't know, there's got to be a better term than just regular. So let me make sure I actually have the right term. But the purples are normal, we'll say. The turquoise ones, however, are called, or teal, are blighted binding stones. And the downside with those is when you strike them, you gain a point of, or you gain 1 blight damage, which is the tracker on your character board, and that shifts this cube to the left. And if the red cube, which is your health cube, and the teal cube ever meet or pass each other, your climber dies, and maybe you completely lose the game as well. I'm not sure. I have to lose if you are struggling. So that's something I'm going to have to when I get to that point, we'll review. But anyway, so going back to my card selection here, I am trying to figure out what the best action points, which card to use, and wondering. And one other thing I didn't mention with these the action points is that some of them have symbols underneath the number. So in this case, it's got this kind of yellow circle with the yellow sun around it, and this one has the circle with like the red arrows, whatever you want to call them, and this one has none. So these actually represent protection from that type of space on the board. So normally, if I were to go through a space with the red arrows, that means you're going to have to lose a point of damage, meaning your damage track goes down 1. But if you were to have used, like, let's say this card for your action points, then you're protected from being damaged by those points. So looking back at the map right now, I have a straight shot to that crystal without having, well, I shouldn't say that. If I started here, so let's just say I started here, I'm going to choose this 4 card for my action points. I put the card like that to show that that's the card that I'm using for my action points. And then I can use my action points accordingly. On the player board, it does let you know climb is 1 action point. So I can go 1, 2, and then 3. And because I used an action point card with that symbol on it, I don't actually have to lose any health going through this red spot. So then I go up to 3. Now I'm in the same spot with this crystal, so I can start striking it. And I think I'm going to do just that. I'm going to strike the crystal, and the player board says that the strike amount is X, and that's dependent on how many, action points you want to exert. I have 2 action points left, so I will use my 2 action points remaining to damage that crystal. But the what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I have a passive ability that says +1 to your strike. So that means I actually am going to do 3 total strike of damage to this crystal. So I will be knocking it down to 2. And at this point, I could say my turn's done. However, I am debating if I want to use actually this Rise card for this sake of taking advantage of the fact that I currently am ignoring the damage effect of the red spaces, and I think I'm gonna do that because why not? We're learning here. This might not make sense, so I'm gonna put this in my discard pile, and then I'm going to immediately push my climber up to that spot. And again, normally I'm taking 2 damage for... Oops. No, that's dumb because I still want to destroy that binding crystal before I move on. Now I could, in fact, use this Shatter card, which gives me 2 strike, and that would be enough to finish it off. But then it says gain 1 heart or 2 grip, and I have full heart. Or full health, and there's no gaining 2 grip is just taking 2 cards from your discard and putting them into your draw pile, and then there's no cards in my discard, so that makes no sense either. So at this point, I'm going to end my turn. After you activate your once you're done, you move on to the next step, which is Resolve Threat. Resolve Threat, as indicated here, says all climbers will lose a grip. So we just unfortunately have to, like I said, I'm not sure if I have to lose 2 because I have 2 climbers, or if I should only be losing 1 because I'm playing solo. Regardless, I'm going to say I'm losing 2. So that's all. That's taking care of the Resolve Threat part of the turn. So now we move on to the last step of a round, which is simply drawing up to 3. And it says, after resolving the threat card, you and only you discard as many cards as you wish. Then draw from your deck until you have 3 cards in hand. So technically speaking, I have the option to also discard these cards if I really wanted to. I don't really see a reason to do that right now because, as I mentioned earlier, when you run out of that draw pile, you can fall. Now, you can try to mitigate that, and then eventually you can take a rest action, which allows you to put cards back into your draw pile. So I don't really see a reason to discard anything, so I'm just going to draw 1 card. And in case you were wondering, I drew the card called Dig In. Has a 4-point action point value. 4 action points. It protects you from the yellow space. If you go through a yellow space, you lose a grip or would have to discard a card. And then has the skill that says any climber may strike 1, gain 1 grip, and anchor. An anchor, I'm not immediate. I have to quick read what anchor does for a climber. In the rulebook, it says anchor, you may stop falling without having to enter a ledge. Your deck cannot be empty, and you cannot stop in an open space. So, if there were a situation where my climber was falling, these cards can be played anytime. Actually, the skill cards, or the card for the skill effect, can be played at any time, and that the rules are clear that can also be done in the middle of a fall. So if you're falling, I guess you could immediately play Dig In and stop yourself from falling. And it says strike one, gain a grip and anchor. So I guess you could do all three in that exact moment, which sounds like a pretty nice card, even if you're just trying to strike one and gain a fist or gain a grip. So that was the end of the round. We now start at the beginning, which is reveal the next threat card. This time we have one of those attack cards, and I'll show it closer here to describe what's going on. The card first shows you this diagram of where the target is located, and this implies the target is always going to be the active climber, which in this case now is Savvy. So it's Savvy's current location is the target, and I'm not sure if the target also is affected by the attack. Oh yeah, the attack marker is the point of origin. Anyone caught in that space or any of the spaces highlighted in the diagram suffers the listed effects of the attack when it resolves. So the game provides this kind of, I guess, cool looking component to indicate where the current target is of the Leviathan. And if I were not to move outside of that zone of the attack, then Savvy would be losing 2 health points. But as I mentioned, we don't actually resolve the threat yet. We're only revealing the threat. So now it's Savvy's turn to act, and I first have to pick. Oh, and by the way, I forgot to discard the action point card I use for fix. So now I have to pick a card for Savvy for action points. And and it says after activating. So first of all, I get to place Savvy's token out on the board for Savvy's effect. And I'm trying to be strategic about this. I don't actually know I'm thinking I'm actually going to put it way over here by fix at this space. So we'll see if this is going to play out in a useful manner, but I'm going to do that for now and go with it. So that's the very first part of Savvy's turn. Now Savvy's going to pick a card for activation points. I have a 5, a 4, and a 3. The 5, again, is actually a pretty nice ability. I don't know if I want, or has a nice skill, so I don't know if I actually want to use up all 5 right away, or that card right away. I'm looking at the 4 because I don't really, even though this sounds like a cool skill, I'm not sure how often we'll be falling yet because it's my first time playing. And 3 is just only 3, so I don't know. I'm going to go with 4. And with that now done, I'm going to move Savvy 1 space, 2 space, 3 space to be right next to that binding crystal. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and strike it. I mean, I have to strike it at some... I'm going to have to start striking these crystals. So, I'm going to go ahead and do it. And the reason why I'm kind of being a little vague, or reason I'm being a little apprehensive is because since this was one of those teal crystals, that means I do have to take a point of... if you strike a blighted crystal, you gain 1 blight. So I do have to move the blight track for Savvy down 1 space there. And it's unfortunate, but like I said, I don't really see any other way around it. You only ever lose 1 blight regardless of the amount of damage you do to the blighted die. So in this case, it's not, ideal to only do 1 strike damage to a teal or blighted die, because if you did 3, 4, 5, 6 damage to a blighted die in 1 round or turn, you're still only losing 1 point of. You're only gaining 1 blight, so it's not an optimal. It's not optimal, but I also don't want to not do any damage because I feel like that's a waste as well. At this point, I still could use the 2 cards I have in my hand for their associated skills, such as the striking, but I think the heart. Yeah, so the heart is only red, the red cube. Like the rules are very clear that there you can maybe remove the teal or the blight, but in this case the card is specifically only allowing me to heal my health. However, now I have cards in my discard pile, so I could gain those back. But at the same time, I'm not destroying the teal cube. I'm going to go ahead and do it. Why not? So I'm going to play the Shatter, strike 2. Oh, yeah, sorry. You guys are probably yelling at me right now. It says if this breaks the crystal, which in this case it's not. So in fact, I almost should save that for fix. And that's what I think I'm going to do. I think I technically could even do this now out of turn and use it for fix immediately. Oh, maybe I'm when you play a card for the skill resolve effect in place, I should retract that statement. I think it has to probably say specifically any character. So in fact, I'm going to have to wait to use it on Fix's turn. So I'm going to end my turn there, and that means we move on to the resolve threat phase or step. And since I moved out of the zone of that attack, that say the shell shock attack is what it was called, no damage is going to be taken by any of my climbers. And so now we move on to the final step, which is simply drawing back up to 3 cards, and I'm not going to bother discarding any. I'm just going to draw, and I end up getting Get 'em, which is 4 action points and says any climber. Yeah, so any climber may strike 2. In fact, I wonder if I could use that even right now. I have to because any time says is any time, and that's what I always get frustrated when I hear any time, because like, what are the windows of any time? Is it right now? Is any time right now? Because it says anytime actions including skills, letting go, foraging, and a few actions specific to certain Leviathans. Okay, they can be triggered at any time, including anytime actions include using skills. They can be triggered at any time, including between actions of your turn or another climber's turn, or just before a Leviathan threat effect. Anytime actions cannot interrupt other effects. So I feel like I can almost use it right now, but we'll wait until my activation, because I don't think there's any benefit for me using it right now. So with that said, we would go back to the start of the new round, which is reveal the threat. This one says active. The target is the active climber, which will be Fix, and it says push 1, and there's an arrow pointing down. So I'm going to guess that means that Fix will be shoved down 1 location spot. I'm going to quick double check that's exactly what that means. And this might actually be one that's supposed to be obvious enough where... Okay, push X. Move your figure a number of spaces in the indicated direction. After the push resolves, remember to suffer applicable terrain effects for all spaces encountered. So the one thing I'm not sure of is if, let's say I was over here and there's an open spot underneath, if I still get pushed or not. That's something that I don't know is described in the rule book or not. But right now, there's nothing I can do about this one. I think automatically it is going to happen. So it is what it is. So I'm not going to worry about it. I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. To start off, I'm just going to get rid of this rise card for the three action points. Yeah, so thanks, Sam, for answering that question. So let's say I'm over here and I'm where this purple blight die is located, and I get pushed down to this open space. Do I just fall down to the very next space? I assume so, but yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to understand. Okay. Thanks, Sam, for that. So we're going to go ahead and use. Oops, sorry. We're going to go ahead and use the 3-point action point card I have for this turn. It protects me against the yellow spots, which I don't even think is going to be an issue for me. So then I'm going to start my turn off by using this Any Climber May Strike 2 card, just to immediately get rid of this purple binding crystal. Sorry, blinding crystal. I may have used the wrong term there. Oops, I forgot to discard Savvy's card at the end of Savvy's turn. So, oh yeah, and here's some more. Actually, you would begin falling, and then you don't stop falling until you hit a ledge or perform anchor. To clarify, if you enter an open airspace for any reason, you begin falling. So it initiates a fall. So going back to the example, if I was here, I push down 1, it initiates a fall. So now I'm actually going to go all the way down to there, is what it sounds like you're saying, unless I used an anchor. But going back to the turn here, so I'm using Strike 2 to destroy this crystal, binding crystal. So that's 1 binding crystal gone. Still a few left. But hey, we're making progress here. And I still have all 3 of my action points left. So yes, I saw anchor on one of the cards. I think that, yeah, what did I definitely had an anchor card that recently. And well, yeah, since you're asking, actually, let me see. It was for this card. It says any climber may strike 1, gain 1 grip, and anchor, which to me implies you use this during a fall, and you use it while you're passing through a binding crystal, because that's the only way you get to take full advantage of this card. You're to take advantage of the fact you're falling, so you anchor, but you're also on a spot with the binding crystal, so you get strike 1, and then you can gain a grip, is how I would interpret the best case of using this card. Okay, so in terms of my 3 remaining action points, I'm going to climb 1 up to here, and then I'm going to go into use my second AP to move into the Farseer token space. And going back to Savvy's card, it explains that when a climber enters that space, they may ignore terrain and may discard the token to climb 1. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So first of all, I'm ignoring the fact that there was this was a red space because of the Farseer token. And then I'm going to discard the Farseer token to climb 1, which gives me a free movement into that space. And then I'm going to use my 3rd action point to move up 1, anticipating that I'm going to get pushed down 1 space once the threat is activated. And therefore, and which is then fine because I'm still on my pathway to that purple binding crystal. So that's going to be the end of my activate climber step. We move to resolve threat. Resolve threat is the active climber is pushed down 1. No problem there. Fix just got knocked down a little bit. That's okay. Then we move on to draw up to 3 cards. So this time I'm drawing 2 cards since I only had 1 left in my hand. I'll quick show what I got here. Oops. Sorry, guys. So I got Old Rusty, which is a 4-point action point. Has 4 action points and then says secure, apply +2 to your strike. So that's, I guess, that could be really big for Fix because he could, I guess, add that on to his innate +1 to your strike. I assume those stack, by the way. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Sam. And then any climber may climb 1. So this card's interesting because the action points are only 3, but it protects you from all 3 types of negative effects: the red spots, the yellow spots, and then the taking blight from hitting the blighted binding crystals. And then the skill, though, is any climber may climb 1. So a rather basic skill, but climbing 1, any climber allowed to climb 1 is not a bad thing. So that takes us back to the board here, and that's the end of Fix's turn. So we now move to resolve the next threat. Which says the ability from Sage is called Rebuke. The highest climber will have to gain a blight and lose a health. And right now, the highest would be Fix. Fix is 2 rows above Savvy. And highest is just number of spaces above the bottom of the Leviathan board. So on Savvy's turn, oh boy, what should Savvy... Okay, first, keep forgetting to do this, discarding the card. We're down to, by the way, in case you guys are wondering, I only have 1, 2, 3. Only 3 grip cards left. And I don't want to get down to 0. It does say in the rules that last chance after any climber is defeated, the remaining climbers... Oh, sorry. Where did I... Falling... There was something that discussed that hanging by a thread. In order to avoid falling, you may choose not to draw the last card from your deck. That's in the rulebook. And I'm guessing that means you can do that indefinitely. That's something that... It doesn't say you can't do it indefinitely, so basically you never have to force yourself to fall. But you would still be at risk of falling with 1 card left in your deck because, as you've seen, there are cards like this that just say everyone loses a grip, and then if you only have 1 grip card left in your deck, then you're going to fall. So all that to say that I don't want to necessarily get down to 1 card. Before we do anything, though, I do want to put out Savvy's token, and in this case, I'm thinking of putting Savvy's token... do I put it over by Savvy, or do I put it by Fix? I'm looking at putting it over here on this red space so that Savvy can ignore it if she goes that direction. But yeah, I'm not sure. Hmm. Because then I could use this card gives me the plus all three of protection against everything. But honestly, I feel like I'm not too nervous about those right now. I could put it on. I mean, I'm gonna be whatever. I'm overthinking this. I'm gonna put it on the space of the binding crystal where Fix is headed next. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna go ahead and use the 3 action point crystal or card for Savvy, and then on for her turn, I'm going to have her start off by striking the um, the blighted crystal, but this time, which would I'm going to only use 1 action point because I'm going to then use this old rusty skill card or skill effect, which says apply +2 to your strike. So that means that oh yeah, and I good okay. This is gonna I'm realizing this as I go here. So I'm gonna use that skill. That means Savvy does 1 +2 for old Rusty, knocking this next binding. So we have 2 binding crystals gone, and normally since that was the teal binding crystal, I would have to take some blight, but I played an action point card that has protection against blight. So now I have 2 action points left, and I'm going to spend them to go 1 and then 2. And again, I'm on a red space now, which normally makes me take damage. But because I played this 3-point action card that has protection against that space, I don't take any negative effect from that space either. So that worked out okay, I think. And now there's nothing else that I want to do on for the remainder of Savvy's turn. Just to quick read through Sam's comments here and to answer the effect stack. So I could have also have used old Rusty with Fix's +1 ability. So this he would if I attacked for I could have used 1 action point and done 4 points of strike damage with old Rusty and Fix's +1, but I ended up not doing that. Except present instance of multiple effects that say strike, you'd resolve those independently, taking blight each time you strike a blighted crystal. I think I understand what Sam's saying there. So that means we resolve the threat now in step 3, which highest climber takes 1 blight and loses 1 health, which now is still Fix. And that was fine with me because already Savvy's the one that's gained 1 blight. So now it's Fix's turn to take some damage and then take a little blight. Still not too much the worse for wear. Now we draw back up. And this means I only have 1 card remaining in my draw pile. So we're going to have to watch that. The cards that I drew, I have Who's Next. And it says after crystal breaks. So okay, so I think it's saying that I can move 2 above me, 2 to the left of me, 2 to the right of me, or if Fix had just broken a crystal, he could instead move 1 extra space, so 3 total to the left, 3 to the top, or 3 to the right. Basically, he's on like a bloodthirsty crystal destroying rampage that's motivating him to take that extra space of movement. So but this is worth 5 action points. So I mean, I don't know. It's, I guess, to move, basically just to have the ability to, after breaking a crystal, to then move 3 spaces is kind of a big deal. But 5 action points is also a big deal, and protection against the yellow spots. The other card that I got is Farseer Cudgel, and it says secure strike 2 or strike 1 and place a Farseer token on a non-open space. So clearly this is, trying to take advantage of creative plays with that Farseer token, because when you use it, it goes back, but then and normally doesn't come out again until the beginning of Savvy's turn. But this card's basically saying, well, maybe on Savvy's turn, she uses the Farseer token to get an extra climb, then uses Farseer Cudgel, allowing her to place the token back on the map, and maybe then use again for an extra climb. So definitely a cool kind of idea there with using this card. Secure, I'm going to have to quick look up what secure, what that keyword means. And it says when you lose grip, if the card has the secure keyword, place it in your hand instead of discard pile. Oh, okay. So I think, because normally, I guess if you flip it over and it's, if I had this card here, maybe this is a question for Sam if you're still listening. My interpretation of that is, let's say I'm losing grip, so I have to, discard the top card of the deck, and then it says secure. That means I actually don't have to put it in the discard pile, but I take it to my hand, is how I interpret that. So the fact that it's in my hand means that I don't have to worry about the secure keyword, is how I interpret all of that. Anyway, going back to trying to figure out what Fix wants to do, he definitely wants to head towards this binding crystal. Oh, wait. So now we have to reveal the next threat. Oh, and first discard. Okay, now we reveal the next threat, which is active. Inactive, meaning Fix is the active climber now. And this one is -2 health, so this kind of stinks because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do something creative here or not, because I don't want to. I was going to try to take advantage of the climb. Man, this is an I feel like I have a lot of things to think through here, because part of me is thinking, oh, I should definitely take advantage of the strike 2 card, and try to heal up then. Then get a health back or 2 cards back. Yeah, dang, I really need cards back. Oh man. But then but that means I can't use this for 5 action points, meaning I have to use one of these cards for action points. And I'm looking at this one, actually. I think I'm just going to go with that. All right, so I'm going to use this card for Fix's action point card. So Fix has 5 action points. Next, I'm going to go 1 and then 2 to be in that space with the binding crystal. Then I'm going to go ahead and use this strike 2 card to deal 2 damage to that binding crystal, but let's not forget Fix's ability, which apply +1 to your strike. So in fact, I'm doing 3 strike to this binding crystal for no action point. So that's gone. Also, as the card mentions, if this breaks a crystal, gain +1 heart or 2 grip. Now, I've only lost 1 health so far, so I'm thinking I'm just going to go and gain the 2 grip. And gaining grip, take the indicated number of cards randomly from your discard. So I guess, do a quick shuffle of the discarded card. I'm going to do a quick shuffle of the discard pile here, and then I'm randomly taking 2 cards out. And and then it says I may look at them. So I got headbutt, strike 1. If this breaks a crystal, become focused. We haven't dealt with focused yet. So, because we had that's what this token is. It's called a focus token. So, I think focus just allows you to use it for. There's a variety of benefits you can use a focus token for, if I remember correctly. And I'm actually trying to quick look up where it talks about focus. Focus tokens. When you use any skill while focused, you may apply +1 to a numerical value on that skill. So, for example, if a card was strike 2, you use your focus for strike 3. So it's a nice. It's obviously a nice thing to have. Anyway, so headbutt, and then victory dance after a crystal breaks, climb 2. So both abilities kind of. Both of these cards obviously prioritizing breaking a crystal. So then the rules say I shuffle them to shuffle the 2 cards that I just drew, and they go under your draw deck. Okay, so going back after all that, going back to the board here, I used 2 action points so far of my total 5. Now I am on top of this Farseer token, which protected me from the yellow spot, although my card does protect me anyway. So what I'm going to do is spend the Farseer token, give it back to Savvy for a climb 1, and I still have 3 action points remaining, which I'm going to then use to climb 3 times. I'm going to go up here 1, 2, 3. And since I'm 2 above the target zone, that keeps me out of harm's way of the arcane burst attack. So I'm going to end my turn there. Whew, that was a lot. Resolve threat. No one's within the damage area, thankfully. So that does nothing. And then we draw to 3. So I'm now back down to 1 card remaining again. So end of round. After you finish your turn, if all cards in the threat row have been revealed and resolved, the round ends. When the round ends, follow these steps. Shuffle and deal new threat row. Shuffle the threat cards and deal them face down in a row below the threat board. So I'm going to go ahead and do that here. All right, then it says advance marker and enrage cards. Advance the threat marker, which is this purple cube, 1 space to the right along the track. Then enrage a number of cards equal to the current value on the track from left to right. When a threat card is enraged, rotate it 180 so that it's enraged and the teal end is upright. When enraged cards are revealed and resolved, the enraged end will be upright and the normal end ignored. So yeah, we now are going to deal with more challenging threat cards from the Leviathan. So we'll go ahead and take this. Dang it, I forgot to discard that card. And it's now Savvy's turn. First, though, we reveal the threat. and it's active climber, push down and fall. So it's interesting that it's push and fall instead of just fall. I'm not exactly sure. I guess if they're on a ledge, they get pushed down even if they were on a ledge, and then are forced to fall. So right now, falling would be bad for Savvy because Savvy would be going all the way down to here, which would not be fun. So I'm kind of going to have to figure out what ledge I want to go for. Yeah, this kind of stinks for Savvy because when I'm immediately looking at her spot, there's a purple cube up there I could go for right now, or I could go for this the binding crystal over there or binding crystal there, and I'm tempted to go for the purple binding crystal, but now with this information that Savvy's going to be going down one and falling, I feel like it's more important just to make sure I'm not too negatively affected by that, which means I would either want to be in this space here because the push will push her down to the ledge and then she falls, but she's on a ledge so nothing happens, or here she'll get pushed down and fall but nothing will happen because she's on a ledge, which I think in this spot makes the most sense, which is just 2 away, which is making me think I rest on her turn, because if I'm only going to be moving 2 spaces, then it seems like a good resting opportunity, which I want to do anyway. And which I'm reading the resting rules now, and it just says, if for 2 action points, you shuffle your discard pile and place those cards under your deck. You must be on a ledge. Oh, okay. When resting, do not shuffle your AP card along with your discards. So what we're going to do is I think I'm going to need 1, 2, 3, 4. I need 4 action points. And all my cards are 4 action points, so how serendipitous. Then it's just a matter of which one of these do I think is... Oh, and I forget. Of course I want to take advantage of... This actually kind of stinks. Well, no, it doesn't stink. What am I talking about? So I have the Farseer token is what I was grumbling about, and I was like, man, I can't use it effectively for her turn, but I can put it anywhere. Which I will, and I'm going to put next to Fix to take advantage of on his turn. I'm going to put it right here. So thank you, Savvy, for that. Back to Savvy's turn in terms of picking out action point cards. So after a crystal breaks, climb 2, place a Farseer token on any space, including an open space. You know, I'm just going to go with that one. I mean, I think this could be used in very novel ways, but I'm just not critically thinking right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this one. So this is the card I'm going to have Savvy use for 4 action points. Now what Savvy's going to do, she's going to go one space there, then she's going to spend 2 action points to rest, which, again, the rules say shuffle your discard. And then I just put this under my draw. Yeah, shuffling discard here, blah, blah, blah. All right, put it under my draw pile so I have some better gripping. And so it was 1 move there, 3, 4, or sorry, 1, and then to move here, then 2, 3 action points for that rest, and then 1 more action point, and I'm going to use it to move up 1 space to there. And that, I believe, will be the end of Savvy's turn, which means we move to the next step, which is Resolve Threat. Resolve Threat states pushing one down and then fall. But Savvy was savvy enough to think about the fact that she needed to be on a ledge to prevent the fall from affecting her. So that, in the action, this was Hunker Down, was the Sage's ability. Which, thematically, think of this giant turtle kind of hunkering down, and the fact that, the climber is falling down with the turtle. Or, it looks like a turtle. I don't know if Sage would be offended by me calling it a turtle. Anyway. So then we move on to drawing 3. I had 2 cards still in my hand, so I only need to draw 1 more. And I'm feeling good about the situation right now. Hopefully I'm doing everything right. Okay, so we know, now we go to Fix's turn. Oh, always discard the card used for action points. Now we move on to Fix's turn. And first we reveal the next threat card, which is active. And this is pretty convenient for Fix because this is not going to be an issue. So active is just the orthogonal spots to where Fix is right now, but we're getting the heck out of Dodge. So activate Climber. Fix is first. First, we have to figure out how many action points we want to spend here. I'm tempted. What can I don't know if I can actually. Yeah, it stinks here because I'm going to be just short, I believe. Well, because it's going to be 1 to move into there. I don't know if this is a smart move or not. I'm going to use this card for 4 action points. Okay, so for the very first action point, I'm moving Fix into the Farseer token right next to him, which protects him from, it is a yellow spot, but the Farseer token protects him from taking any negative effect because my action point card had 0 protection. And then I'm going to go ahead and discard the Farseer token to get that climb point. And I'm going to use that to move into the location with the Blight Binding Stone crystal. So now I have gosh, math is hard. So I go 1 here, and then I get the free movement. So I have 3 action points left. Yes, actually this could. Okay, this is gonna kind of work out, I think. We'll see. So I'm gonna then strike the Binding Crystal. Actually, this might be a little aggressive, but I'm going to strike the Binding Crystal for 3 points of damage. I add 1 because of my hit it harder ability, so that's 4 points of damage, taking it all the way down to 1 point of damage remaining. But I have to take some Blight because it's a blighted Binding Stone. Now I'm going to go ahead and use my Headbutt skill, which says strike 1. If this breaks a crystal, you become focused. The downside with this is I do have to take another Blight because it's a separate attack. But, I don't think there was any way around that anyway. And I get at least rid of 1 more crystal. And now Fix becomes focused. So we're going to be able to take advantage of that hopefully at some point in the near future. I think that's all then our friend Fix will be doing on his turn, or his activation. We now move to resolving the threat, and nothing will happen because Fix is safely out of the target zone of the current threat card, which is called Arcane Burst. And that means we draw back up to 3 cards and transition back to Savvy. So for Savvy's turn, I think I'm targeting this purple, the purple binding crystal. So then it's a matter of getting all the way up to that purple crystal, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 spaces away. So I have this one card that says jump to a crystal. Which means actually I could get to there. Oops, sorry. So jumping is like basically a diagonal move. Because normally you have to climb one, you normally when you climb it's orthogonal, but if you jump, it's actually it's probably easiest just to show what the rule book describes as jumping. I mean, I guess it's a move two. It's a move two. You could either move two orthogonally or move diagonally, which is the equivalent kind of a move two. Yeah. Anyway, point of all of that is that then if I get to there, I can jump to the crystal. Which, why not? So then it's just a matter, if I want to use that skill, then it's a matter of, well, do I want to use this AP card for 5 or the one for 4? And if I did 5, I would go 1, 2. Okay. Yeah, this could be interesting. I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to discard this. Second of all, before I even pick a card, we have to put this Farseer token. I'm going to put the Farseer token right here, because you'll see why in a second. And then finally, I'm going to choose to use my 5-point action point card for Savvy. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to go 1 action point to there, 2 action points to here, then discard the Farseer token for a free climb to there. Then I'm going to use the jump to a crystal skill to, guess what, jump to a crystal. And if you've been keeping track, I still have 3 action points remaining, which happens to be just enough to completely destroy this purple binding crystal. And it wasn't blighted, so I didn't even have to worry about taking any kind of blight, so we're good there. And I think that was a great, efficient turn for Savvy. Again, Savvy's playing Savvy. And we'll move on to the... Oops. You guys may be yelling at me for not having flipped the threat card. Now, the threat was this shell shock, which put the target down here. Obviously not an issue at all, so it didn't really change. It didn't change my move or turn, but I did forget to do that. What I'm not going to forget to do, though, is discard Savvy's action point card. And then draw back up to 3. So I'm starting to get a hang of the game a little bit. Maybe not necessarily strategy-wise, but also I think we're in a good spot right now. So Sage flips over his next threat card. Highest is actually Savvy, which actually is probably the better of the two. Will be taking a blight and a damage. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if I want to remain at the same. Now that so it's Fix's turn. Fix is kind of thirsting for that crystal. Although maybe it makes more sense for him to go for this binding crystal. Let Savvy go for the teal one, just so then he doesn't go any higher. It's a little bit of a toss-up. He obviously has better striking just because of his passive ability. And then I think when you go through, I don't know if mushrooms for pick up, as an anytime action, you may pick up, place a mushroom from your space face up in your play area. So if I go through this space, which has a mushroom, which I've not picked up any yet, I can take it and put it in my inventory. Ah, boy. Well, that maybe might make the most sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a very boring turn for Fix here, but I'm just going to go with using this 4 action point card and then just having him go 1, 2, 3, 4. I actually have a skill here, which any climber may climb 1, and it's tempting to take advantage of this just to get Fix into that very next space with the mushroom and pick it up. Just to set himself up to be 1 space away on his next turn to the next crystal. All right. Okay, I've convinced myself just to go ahead and do it. So any climber may climb 1. I'm going to discard that just to allow Fix to move into the mushroom. And now we get to pick up the mushroom for a free action, and it's actually a focus token. So that means I believe I can just spend it at any moment to gain a focus. I'm just quickly checking to see if it become focused. Yeah. Which makes me wonder if I then, this is a little bit of backtracking. Yeah, never mind. I was going to say, if I had known I was going to get this mushroom, I would have just used my focus chip on that when I use this skill to add +1 to the skill, which would have made it climb 2, which means I'd be at the blight crystal right now. But, I technically didn't know I was going to get this focus token or mushroom. So I'm just going to put it on my player board for now. The sole rules state that only the climber that picks up the mushroom, only that climber gets to use the mushroom they picked up. So only Fix can actually use that mushroom. So anyway, that's the end of his turn. Now we resolve the threat. The highest climber, which is Savvy, is going to unfortunately lose 1 health and then also gain 1 blight, but still it's not a huge issue. We're going to discard the action point card from Fix and then draw back up to 3. I got the old rusty pickaxe again and Shatter. So both of these will be good combining with that focus token on Fix's turn. So now we reveal the next threat card and we get all lose 1 grip. And yeah, this is going to be... This is a little bad because right now we only have 2 cards left. And I need to double check if it's... If your deck runs out, both climbers fall. So right now we will fall. We would be falling if I don't add any cards to my draw deck. So I'm thinking, okay, I could rest spend 2 action points to rest on Savvy's turn here. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe I just play it safe and do that. Okay, I'm just going to go play it safe and do that. And to do that, I'm going to... first, in terms of her Farseer token, I guess I will... I'm just going to use it for her own benefit and place it right next to her. All right. So we're going to go ahead and use this Farseer Cudgel for the 4 action points. Oh! So the one caveat about resting is you need to be on a ledge in order to rest. Which thematically does make sense. I'm wondering if I do a glide here, but I don't exactly know how glide works. So if I go here, 1, then 2 to here, 3, 4. Or I can glide. Yeah. Okay, I think I can make this work. Glide 2. Yeah, okay. Wow, this is... Yeah, this I think will just work out. So I still can use the Farseer Cudgel as the action point card for Savvy. And then I'm going to do the glide action, which basically allows you to move more easily move down. And it's, again, this is hard to describe with words, but basically it's... it says you may choose, you move your figure directly to a space based on their AP. You choose a spend, count the spaces down and or down diagonally. Like jump, you only enter the space you land in. We're ignoring any you glide over. So what I'm going to do then is glide to my Farseer token, which is then 1, 2. So I have to just spend 2 action points to go 1, 2. Now I'm on my Farseer token. As you can imagine, I'm going to discard my Farseer token for that free climb, putting me on the ledge. And I still have 2 action points remaining, which, if you've been paying attention, I will be using for a rest action, which means, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I messed up earlier. In the solo rules, it specifically says that when you rest, you don't take all your cards back. You gain 7 instead of taking your entire discard. When I first did a rest action, I may have ended up taking 1 or 2 more cards than I should have. So FYI on that. Right now, I actually have exactly 7 cards, so I know I'm not making this a mistake right now. So shuffle them. And then just put them under my draw pile. So I'm no longer at risk of falling. And yeah, the 2 cards I have remaining have skills that I wouldn't even, have no value to Savvy at this point. So I'm going to end my turn. And wow, I'm just got confused that we're zooming through the second row of threat cards. So all are gonna lose a fist, or a grip, meaning we discard one, discard another, and then we draw back up to 3 and discard the AP card. Yeah, I just want to know exactly. I don't think it matters when I actually discard. Yeah. Okay. So now we move. Oh yeah, now it's the end of a round. So we have to because all the threat cards are face up. So we lay them with the normal ends upright to start, but now this threat token moves down one more space on the track, and now it's at the 2. So that means the first 2 threat cards are going to be rotated. So we're going to be using their enraged side. So right off the bat, Fix's turn now, and oof, that's called Shell Shock, and it's a big attack. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to. Oh man. So yeah, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this, if I'm just going to suck it up or what. This really stinks, actually. Because I originally, of course, just wanted to go right after that cube. Now I might have to change my plan and go upwards. Which is not ideal either, but I don't really want to take two blight. And there's the red spot up above me, which I don't want to technically. So I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Sorry, the camera took a little bit of a tumble there. I'm going to quick try to get this set up. Ugh, got a little messed up, unfortunately. When it fell. Sorry about that. Well, anyway, I think I know what I'm going to do on Fix's turn. A little bit of a course correction. We're going to go now for this binding crystal above me. To get things kicked off, I'm going to go ahead and use... Oh, crap. I was getting excited. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I think I can get away with... Oh, wait. Yeah, I think I can get away with what I want to do. So I'm going to go ahead and use this 4 action point card for 4 action points. Then I'm going to go ahead and use this skill card, which says place the Farseer token on any space, including an open space. So I'm going to just go ahead and use that now, and I'm going to place it right in that red space. So I get to ignore now the negative effects of that space. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, used up 3 of my 4 action points. Now I'm on the Farseer token. I'm going to discard the Fire Seer token to do a climb 1 to be right in the same space now as the purple binding stone. And then I'm going to do this strike card, but I'm going to add, it's a strike 2 card. It's a strike 2 card, but I'm going to go ahead and use that focus token that I had flipped over to make it now a strike 3 card. And then I'm going to add on apply plus my benefit, my bonus of a +1 to your strike. So it's actually 4 total strike that I'm doing, which is enough to just destroy that binding crystal altogether. And then when you look at the card, it says, if this breaks a crystal, gain 1 heart or 2 grip. And honestly, I'm not too concerned about my grip right now, but I am a little concerned about these 2 cubes meeting each other. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and increase his health by 1. So I've used up all 3 cards on his turn, and he still has 1 action point left, actually. And I'm going to take advantage of that and move 1, we'll climb right over here to get that much closer to that binding crystal. All right, so that is a very full turn for Fix. He discards his action point card. We now resolve this big, huge shell shock attack, but the strike was there, and 1, 2, there's no one within the radius of that attack, so no damage occurs, and then we draw back up to 3 cards. Okay, so now we go to Savvy's turn, and first thing first though is we reveal the next threat. This one is active, loses 2 grip, all others lose 1, and that would knock us down to 0 cards and we would fall. Great. So I'm already thinking the first thing I have to do is once again rest to avoid that. I don't want to have to fall. So I'm going to put her Farseer token right in front of her here. I think this will make sense. And then in terms of what card I want to use, I think I'm just going to use this 5 action point card because at this point there's only 2 crystals remaining. So this ability, this skill just doesn't seem to have a lot of value right now. So why not take advantage of 5 action points? So I'm going to go ahead and pick that card for her action points. So right away I'm going to have her do a rest action because she's still on a ledge. And again, when you rest, you just take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I had 6 cards. Again, you can, when you're playing solitaire, you can take up to 7 cards. So it wasn't a perfect ideal rest action because I'm only getting 6 cards back, but this is definitely, I think, going to be worth doing. So I shuffle them, put them under my draw pile. Okay, so I have 3 action points remaining. First action point going into here, third action point going into here. I'm protected from that red spot with my Farseer token, and then I'm going to spend the Farseer token, or discard it, I should say, to climb 1 for free. So I still have 2 action points left, and for those I'm going to glide down to the crystal, which is actually just 1 action point. So I still have 1 action point left, and now it's a matter of, do I want to strike it or not? And I don't know if I want to strike it because then I'm taking a blight. So I'm looking at that mend action, gain 1 health. I'm going to go ahead and mend. I don't think it's worth doing 1 damage. So I'm going to mend, which is, I haven't done this action yet, but it's just 1 action point to gain 1 red health. And it says the rules are specific. You do not need to be on a ledge when you're doing the mend action. So that's 5 total action points worth of actions for Savvy. I still have 2 cards left that have skills, but this one, Jump 2 to a crystal, is not worth it right now for Savvy. And my other one, any climber may strike 1, gain 1 grip, and anchor also really isn't of immediate value. So I'm going to end Savvy's turn right there, meaning we now move on to resolving the threat card, which the active player, our climber, loses 2 cards, and then all others lose a grip as well. So I'm going to lose a total of 3 cards, which is okay. And then we draw back up to 3. And I got my old rusty pickaxe back. Now we move to Fix's turn. Oh, first, I always forget, discard Savvy's action point card. Now we move to Fix's turn. First, we flip over the next threat, and it's going to be a push down 1, which is annoying, but definitely not a big deal. Okay, so Fix's objective is clear, trying to see if I can take care of this crystal on this turn. And I think I can. So I'm going to, all of my cards happen to be exactly 4 action points. So my decision is pretty simple. I'm going to go ahead with this card, which is 4 action points. Protects me from red spots. Not an issue anyway. Because for my first action, I'm going to glide down for 1 action point to be right on that crystal. So I still have 3 action points left. And yeah, I mean, that's, in fact, it's almost too simple. 3 action points, because then I add, because of his ability, +1 to my strike. I'm going to strike for 3, but then add, or use 3 action points to strike for 3, then add my 1 to completely destroy that binding crystal. Now it is a blighted binding crystal, so I do have to then take 1 blight. And I have 0 action points left, but I have 2 cards left. But neither of these cards are of immediate interest or value either for Fix, so I'm not going to use them. Although I may as well go ahead and use this focus token, or focus mushroom, which allows me to flip back my focus token. And that concludes Fix's activation. We move on to the threat, which is push down 1. And honestly, that's fine, because I think I kind of want to potentially help out with that crystal. And then I draw back up to 3, which is only requiring me to draw 1 card, because I still had 2 in my hand. And now we go to Savvy's turn. Savvy's turn. So first we flip over the next threat. Highest will be losing 1 health and gaining a blight, which is not ideal for Fix at the moment, but he will survive, so we can take it. But let's see if I can finish this crystal off altogether. First off, I do get to place the Farseer token somewhere. I'm going to put it in front of yeah, I'm going to put it in front of Fix, although I don't think it really matters at this point, to be completely honest. Because he can go 1, 2, so I don't know if it matters, but I'll put it there. All right, well, yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and just use this +4 or 4 action point card for Savvy. So she has 4 action points this turn. She's already right on a crystal, the blight crystal, and could do a strike of 4, knocking it all the way down to 1 remaining. However, why not go ahead and whip out the old rusty pickaxe to apply +2 to the strike, which means she has, with the 4 from the action points and then the 2 from that old rusty card, she technically is doing 6 damage, which is more than enough to destroy the binding crystal there. She would technically take a 1 point of blight damage, but I don't know if it matters. I think it might be. I'm not sure if it's an immediate win condition or not, but regardless, when you remove the last binding crystal and resolve win conditions on the scenario card, if any, you save the Leviathan and immediately win. Flip over the story card and read the conclusion. So just to clarify, for any PETA people out there, we're not actually causing any physical harm to these Leviathans. We're simply basically freeing them, as explained right there in the win condition, by destroying these binding crystals. They're basically like parasites that were knocking off the Leviathan. So we're actually helping the creature. And yeah, so we won, and then we can read the conclusion side of the Leviathan card, which states, exploring is a lot easier when you're not tiptoeing around an angry Leviathan. Once we finished, that big turtle stopped trying to kill us and mostly wandered around. Some of the crew took the opportunity to study it closer. Not sure what they learned. I busied myself scoping out the local area and sketching a few new maps. So I'm not exactly I don't know if the rules even clarified why they have certain characters listed with certain Leviathans, if it's just for fun or thematic purposes to try to get you to use a certain climber for a certain Leviathan. I did happen to be using Savvy, so I think for that reason. Anyway, we defeated the giant turtle Leviathan Sage, and everyone's happy. Honestly, this first playthrough was rather, for my first game, it was relatively straightforward and pretty simple. I will say the rules are very clear at the very start, or the rules are clear that you can, increase the difficulty level by having the purple cube start further down the track. So you immediately have, you're immediately dealing with the more challenging threats right away. And I can see for this, for Sage, I didn't feel like I was going to lose that. I didn't feel like I was going to be losing at any point. So with that said, it is the very first Leviathan out of 17. So I assume the first one is meant to be easier. And for example, we never even had to worry about these injury cards. So I assume that they don't get drawn for Sage, but other Leviathans, you might be drawing these injury cards for. So, and then also some of the other Leviathans may have more unique winning object or conditions other than simply destroying all the binding crystals. So, the game ultimately flowed pretty easily. Once it took me a few rounds to really understand everything that was going on in the game, but after the first couple rounds, the game really does take not too long. I probably did play for a little over an hour, and I think the box says that it's a 60-minute game, and I think that's a fair idea of how long this game takes. And I was playing with 2 climbers. Obviously, you could make an argument, well, would it be boring if you're playing with 4 climbers, waiting for your turn? With that said, there is some player interaction, as you may have seen. Like, for me as the Farseer, as Savvy, that Farseer token I can use on any other characters or any climber. And so definitely, and some of the skill cards are supposed to maybe be played more for other climbers than yourself. So there is player interaction, even so if you're not technically going and also those cards can be played out of turn. So I think that would keep if you're playing a 4-player game, all 4 players always engaged. And also, if it wasn't obvious from the playthrough, I think the turns do go pretty quickly. So once you know how to play, so I think that also will prevent a lot of players from getting bored while they wait for the next turn. With that said, I definitely thought this was a cool experience of a game. I've definitely, I don't really know what I would liken it to. Like it's a boss battler, which that genre exists, but not a lot of boss battlers that are more streamlined like Leviathan Wild, which I think is very refreshing. Sometimes, of course, we don't need a huge 3, 4, 5 hour campaign style game like a Kingdom Death Monster, which I do have, but that's a big game to try to get to the table. Where Leviathan Wilds, setup really doesn't take that long, and that's facilitated by the nice insert they have in the box, and also the fact that there's no like terrain tiles that you have to set up. Because the scenarios are these booklets, or the pages of the Leviathans are the pages of this book. You don't have to worry about terrain tokens and all that jazz, which streamlines setup. So with all that said, thank you for anyone still watching the stream. I really appreciate your attention. Check out the QR code down here for the other links we have for Talking Cardboard. We have Twitch and a Twitch channel that we co-stream on, and then we have an X page, a TikTok channel, a Discord community that we, of course, would like to have more people join. So, and always please put in comments your thoughts of these live streams. I'm always interested to hear if people feel there's simple changes I could make to really enhance the experience for all of you watching. But at this point, it's pretty late in the evening, and I'm getting ready to go to bed. So with that said, thanks again so much for watching. I'm Nick from Talking Cardboard, and hope to see you guys again soon. Thank you.